Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. As requested by a user in the Telegram group, we are talking about grid bots. So let's get started. A lot of talk about bots, trading bots, AI bots, and everything like that. There's stable fund. There's tons of different dApps out there. Optimus is going on right now. It seems pretty decent. I'll probably do a video on that in the next day or two. There's just a lot of different dApps that are saying that they're investing in bots in the back end, and then they might have bots back there, and I'm not sure what kind of bots they're using. But in the Telegram group, I've had several people talk about grid bots, and I think there's even one service that's selling a program that you can install on your computer that runs grid bots on your computer, and I think they're charging like $500 for this program. Two things that I would say about that is that that's very steep, because you're going to pay that $500, and then you're also going to pay gas fees because it's all on decentralized exchanges. So you're going to have to pay the fee no matter what you do. No matter what exchange you're on, there's either going to be fees for trading on a centralized exchange such as Kucoin, like I'm going to show, or MEXC or Binance, or whatever the exchange is. Or if there's a version that does it decentralized, you're going to have to pay gas fees for every transaction. So no matter what, you're going to have to pay for each transaction. That's one thing. And two, that I really don't like about having something running on your computer with a program they just give you, is you have to enter your private key of your wallet. Now, unless I know exactly what's in the code behind that product, I would never enter my private key in any program that was asking for it. That's like giving your passphrase to somebody else and hoping they don't give it out. Nobody knows what they're doing behind the scenes, if they're actually taking that key and doing something with it. So be very cautious about those. But that being said, let's talk about these bots. And the ones that we're going to talk about today are grid bots. They're actually pretty simple to set up and run. Things like Kucoin, they've got a really good grid bot system. There's a lot of other programs out there that you can stick your API keys from like Kucoin or MEXC into them and run the bots. And they all basically run the same if you're going to run a grid bot. There's nothing special about a grid bot. It's not, people are saying, oh, it's an AI bot. It's like, well, it is, but it's pretty dumb. I mean, it's a dumb bot. I'll just say it that way. All it does is set up a grid and trades off those points. That's all it does. It doesn't look for any market indicators. It doesn't look for any, it doesn't look at the Bollinger Bands, or it doesn't look at the moving average for the day. It doesn't look at any of that stuff. All it does is look at the price, and if it goes down to a certain point, it buys, and if it goes back up to a certain point, it sells. And it does that over and over and over. And those points are predetermined, and it just sits there and waits for those prices. So it's not, something special that's like, unique or revolutionary. They're actually not that smart of bots, and I'll show you how these work. So this is the Kucoin interface. We'll talk about this. If you go into Kucoin, if you're familiar with Kucoin, to give you some background, when I jumped into crypto, I started with Kucoin because I tried to go with Binance, and they gave me the US dumbed down version, and I said, hey, but I actually have ID from outside the US, and they said, too bad, you're still a US citizen, so you don't get to play with everything. So I went over to Kucoin, and they said, yeah, it's open to anybody. So that's what I use, because they have just so many different tokens, just thousands and thousands of tokens that you can choose from, and it's easy to trade, and the fees are pretty low. I think it's like 0.1% per trade, something like that. So, and the more volume you do, the lower that fee goes, which is great. So I will leave a link down below. I am a Kucoin, affiliate. I've got a link with them. I think you actually get discount on your trading fees, and I only get kickbacks if you trade. So it's not if you sign up or if you deposit, it's just on your trades. So you're not going to pay any more, and it's only on your trades. It's not how much you deposit, which I think is great, because it's only when you use the system that your affiliate gets anything back from it. Anyway, once you're into KuCoin, you sign up, you go up to trade, and it just says trading bot, and you click there. It actually brings you to the actual trading bots themselves, this screen. If you want to go back and see that screen before, you just click the classic version. So let's get rid of this one. We'll talk about Bitcoin first here and how it would work. So when you come here, you've got your coin list on the side. These are just my starred ones. I can just click the USD, and it will just basically everything I can trade with USD is here. So one thing that I like to do is find very volatile tokens, because what this works really good for is anything that's trading sideways and is very volatile. It's moving up and down quite a lot during the day, because you want it to go through and hit the grid points, as often as possible. Just beware if for some reason you buy something and it tanks. What it's going to do is it's going to keep buying at that predefined range that you buy until it hits the bottom. If that coin just totally tanks down below the bottom of your grid, which I'll show you soon, you will basically just be holding that token. So it's good to find something that's both volatile and something that if for some reason something went totally wrong and it tanked, you wouldn't mind holding the token. Bitcoin might be a good one, because people love to accumulate Bitcoin, Ripple, something like that, something that somebody would want to hold on to. If it tanked, you'd be like, hey, it's cool, it's just going to go back up, so I'll just hold on to it. So just be warned that you can lose a lot of money on grid bots, because when the price goes down, you're buying them as they go down. So you're buying more and more of it as it goes down. So let's talk about how it actually works. Let's zoom out of here. We can go on the 1-day chart. So if you look at this is the Bitcoin chart. It's the daily chart, so we can see, the last almost a year, more than a year, like 3 years here. And we can see the auto. Auto basically just says, it has like an AI built into it, and it just looks at the range and says you could do this range. It's going to trade between 13,300 and about 24,700. That's the range that it's going to trade in. And then the number of placed orders, that's the number of grids that are in this thing. So if I zoom into this thing, you're going to see all these lines. There's 100 lines down here. Those are the grids that it creates. Now, what happens when you run this bot, or you start a bot, all this red, it's going to buy. It's going to buy it at the current price. So if it goes up, it can start selling at all these different points. So almost, if you have this range and the current price is right in the middle, as soon as you create it, it's going to take whatever, USDT or whatever you're using, and it's going to buy this amount that's needed. So if it goes up, it can sell, and it's going to buy it at the current price. Okay, so that's what will happen once you create it. And those are the kind of the three numbers you need to worry about: your price range, which is your low and your high, and how many grid points it creates in here. Now, what happens? How does this actually generate anything? We'll zoom way in here so we can see where it's at. Actually, let's put it on like the 5-minute chart. Then you can really see good detail. You can see these grid points pretty far apart here. So right now our price is, at 19,040 something there. It's hovering around right there. What's going to happen is if it drops down to this green line, it's going to buy. It's going to buy a 1/100th of the position, because it's broken up into 100 grids. And then once it goes up to this line, it's going to sell that same position. It's going to buy and sell. So what it would do if it just bounced around between these two, it would just go buy, sell, buy, sell, buy, sell as it moved along. It might come down here and hit buy and sell, and if it went up again, it would sell this other position. And then it would come down and it would buy here, and it would buy here, and back and forth. Or it might just drop. You might see it drop first, and you might go buy, and then it buys again. So something that tanks, all you're doing is buying. It's not going to show any profit because you're only going to start making money on the sells as it moves up. So that's why things that are very volatile are very good, because if it's bouncing between grid points, you're making a lot of money as it buys and sells between those points. So that's all a grid bot does. It just sets up this grid and then buys and sells between the different grid points. That's all it does. It's got a database behind the scenes that has these all predefined, and when the price drops below it, it buys it, and when it goes up to the next point, it sells it, and back and forth and back and forth. So that's all it's going to do. So how do you find tokens to trade? Now you can make a lot of money off of these things, or you can actually lose a lot, because if a token goes down, you're left holding it and you bought it all. And you bought everything at the beginning at this price, and if it drops down to the bottom, that half that you bought at the beginning is worth so much less because it just tanked. It's just like any other token. You can buy it and it could tank. So these are not foolproof. They're not like, hey, you're guaranteed a bunch of money. They're still risky. In these bots, there's the auto where it pre-fills everything, or you can go into customize and say, I don't want to trade. I want to trade between 16,000 and 22,000, not the auto-filled one, 13,324 or whatever. I can say that, and I can make my grids much larger. The fewer grids I place, the further apart they're going to be. And then every grid that you make that's further apart, you're going to make more profit between those grids, but it's less likely to hit those points very often. So yeah, you can play with those. There is advanced settings which might be good. You might be able to say, hey, I only want to start this bot if the price hits this certain point. There's a stop price, so if it drops to a certain point, you can say just stop this bot from running. If it drops to a certain point, it's kind of a stop loss. Or you might say, hey, if it gets to a certain point, if it goes up high enough, just take the profit and shut off the bot. That's what these are going to be. Yeah, so that's the settings that you could do. So let's talk about once a grid is running. I've had one running for 3.5 days and it's on Ripple. I don't mind that this one's actually losing profits because I plan on holding this for quite some time. It's because the price dropped a little bit since I bought it, but it's made, a whopping 54 cents in 3.5 days. It's not the most volatile token, so it's not like moving crazy. So that's why it's not, generating a lot, but I'll probably just let this sit and run. Because those grid profits will probably stack up after weeks or something. So one thing you can also do is on the grid bot, once it's running down here, you can click on the parameters, and there's one thing you can turn this on, and it will take any profits that you make from those trades, and it will reinvest them into the grid. So they don't go into your cash balance, your USDT balance. They would go right back into the grid, and it would buy and sell with those profits. I like to turn that off after it gets going because I want control of what I do with whatever it makes. Whether I want to buy something else with it, take it as profit, I can reinvest into another bot if I want it, or whatever. So yeah, we can actually start one of these and show you how this works. One thing that I like to see is a leaderboard, and you might freak out when you see this, but for instance, let's look at this one. This guy made in the last one day and 1 hour 14,158% on this bot, because he found something that's very volatile and it was probably going up as well. For things that shoot up, just go, parabolic, you're actually going to make more money if you just buy it and hold it instead of putting in a grid bot. Because as it moves down, you're going to buy and sell, and it's not going to make as much as if it just went straight up. If it's trading sideways or on a slight incline, you'll actually make more in a grid bot. So, yeah. So this is one, the XDB token. I'm not too familiar with it, so I might look into that. I looked it up over here. I see that it's like going crazy today. That's probably why they made so much profit. But let's zoom out on this. That's the 1 hour chart. Let's go to the 12-hour chart. We can see that this increase today is just a blip of what it used to be. It was almost, what was that? Almost 80 cents before, and now it's just over a penny. So I don't know what the future of this token looks like. But if I look into, if you want to see how volatile something is, go down to like the 5-minute chart or even the 1 minute, and you'll see how much it moves. So this might be a good candidate of something to get. I'm not sure what it's going to do in the long term, if it's going to continue to go up. But I'll just use this as an example, and I'll run it for a day or two to see what happens. So how to do this is you go in here and you put in the token you want. So we're going to do XDB, and it's very volatile. 187% recently is just, it's crazy how volatile it is. I can hit auto and it will show me the grid that it would create. And this is the 5-minute chart, so you can see how many grid points it's hitting on each of these candles, which is 5 minutes. It's dropping. It drops and it buys, and then it sells those same positions coming up, and it buys coming down, and it sells coming up, and that's where those grid profits come from. Drops, it sells coming up. Yeah, so this one is very volatile and it's really moving. So yeah, let's see if we want to customize this. I don't know if we want to keep the existing settings. Maybe we want to just spread these apart so it makes more per grid, so you don't have as many fees. So we can come into customize and pre-fill those parameters, and let's drop this down to like 85. So there's not as many grid points, and it spaces those out a bit. It says I have to put in a minimum of $36. I'll put 90 in here. I don't have tons in Kucoin right now. I like to use it to like off-ramp stuff, but yeah, that looks all good. So then I'll just hit create here, and it's going to show how much it's going to buy, and we just hit confirm, and down here it'll just say it's initializing. It's like buying those, it's creating that grid, stick it in the database, and once that's done, it's up and running. Now it will just sit there, and as it bounces between those grid sections, put it back here, and as it bounces between those, it will buy and sell and buy and sell. One thing you can do, this is the power button that will shut it off. Under this, these little things, it's the details, and it shows you where it's going to buy. It's going to do 57, set up to do 57 buys and 28 sells. And once if it ever goes above the 0.0167 price, if it goes above that, it basically sold everything, and it's not going to do anything if it goes above that price anymore. So you're going to be sold out of all the position. You're not going to make any profit if it goes above that point. And then if it goes below, the 0.0119, if it goes below this point, you're going to have, you basically bought the whole position going down. So you're going to have, you know, I don't know how much that is, but you know, 112 times 57, you'd have that many more of those tokens in your trading wallet on Kucoin. So yeah, that's kind of how this thing works. Yeah, and it's already started to spin off. You know, there's a penny, you know, it made. So one thing that I do like to do, like I said before, is under parameters, I'm going to turn off the grid reinvestment. So then it goes straight into my USDT balance, any grid profits that I make. Yeah, and that's kind of it. And like I said, like MEXC has something very similar. You know, it's a spot grid. It's a grid trading bot. Theirs is very limited. They don't have very many tokens you can trade with. Yeah, they just don't have a lot of settings. They don't have like a AI like suggested amounts or anything like that, and it's just not as well refined as like KuCoin's bot. KuCoin, I think, did a very good job with this. They actually just released this where it would show the grids and it had the trading view and everything. I think this has come a long ways. Anyway, guys, if you have any questions about the grid bots, just let me know in the comments below or hit me up on the Telegram group. Yeah, we're up to just over 3 cents, so it's, you know, it's probably on an upswing right here. We can see, so it's doing well. But yeah, if you have any questions, let me know in the comments below or join the Telegram group and ask away. Anyway, if you like the video, give it a like. If you dislike it, go ahead and hit that dislike twice, and we will catch you on the next one.